Try it on your own. I tried it at I'm from Harlem.
That's right.
Good morning, everyone. As you're making your way to a seat, as you can tell, we're a little bit behind schedule, so speed things up a bit. Welcome to day number 2.
Yeah, I have in Harlem, the juice bar.
Yeah, you have a
Yeah, where? 124 Colombia. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very good brand. I have a very good story.
Great.
I've been helping people like how they can eat healthy. That's my way.
What's your name?
Ethiopia, yes.
Of course. I know my Ethiopians.
Yeah.
So I do
Fashion week.
we have everybody enter into the conference room there. Hey, can we get started?
There you go. What's the
I commend you. I want to try. Oh, yes.
Thank you so much.
How did you like it?
Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you, Leah.
Leah. I'm Leah Chang.
Shane.
Yes.
Yes.
Any relation?
No. No. Oh, I was like, that's not.
John Chang. You're like, I'm a big chicken. Are you blind, sir?
He could be my uncle.
Oh, really? We all have white skin. Lots of girl white.
No, I agree.
We'll talk at that break. These are very good.
Are they? Okay.
Thanks, I'll be
Thank you. What is it?
I'm good right now.
How are you, man? Tobias.
Start things off, I'd like to see where I'm grateful for what is necessary, what is implicit to there's some foundational elements that are critical and important for regardless if you want to provide some type of value. And there are 3
Thank no, it's okay.
It's okay, come on.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, guys. Come back.
I'll take 4 minutes.
How are you? What I'm gonna make for you, so she gonna review it. You have any other? This is for the time scale. This blueberry, strawberry. This mango, pineapple, banana. This peanut butter. It's good for athletes. Current cake computer.
Direct.
This looks real good.
What do I do? So I'm director of marketing and content. So the wonders that you see out there, we work with to buy.
One second, Tim. 1 second. Is there anybody in here who wants to take the test?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I just need an even number to leave, that's all. Okay.
Are you
Yeah, so we get, wait, Orly, you four can leave. You four at the end. And let's fill the seat so we can keep it moving.
No, there's no stress to this.
Alright?
So, Aaron touched on it before, but when I was on the Orlando Magic, Aaron had just got drafted, and he came in, and this is a young, how old are you, 18? Yeah. 18 years old, comes in the gym, and he's flying around, most of you know, dunk contest champion, but just champion in my opinion, champion in my opinion. But just a young talent that came in and had all this energy and was always in the gym working out and just had this grit and this mental mind state that he wanted to be the best player that he can be. And I would always think, I was like, man, AG, you're in the gym a lot, like working out a lot on the court and whatnot, but it's propelled him to be the player that he is today. And it's a very special player. And I'm going to ask you, AG, when you first came in the NBA to where you're at now, what is the biggest thing that you have learned to help you be healthy and help you be at your top in physical fitness from when you first stepped foot in the NBA to where you're at now?
For sure. When I first got in the NBA, like Tobias said, I was always in the gym, just doing too much. And I was practicing the practice instead of practice for the game. We make our money on the floor during the games, and I would practice so much and work so hard that by the time the game came, my body would be breaking down. And I would have like a stress fracture or a straight calf or back problems, just doing way too much. So as I'm getting a little bit older, I'm starting to understand that you need to pace yourself. You have a consistent, deliberate, focused work each day that you can do that makes your body feel good, makes you strong, and keeps you on that kind of progressive curve of just durability. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just finding what works for you, each day. Whether I see you do your boxing, and boxing is a good way to get off of the basketball court and out of the gym. It really tires out your shoulder, your cardio, your core. There's just a lot of different things that you can do between swimming, running on the sand, treadmill, and biking. There's just a ton of ways to break up the monotony and just working on the basketball court and working in the weight room. And a lot of part of physical strength actually comes from the mental aspect. So you need to be right mentally. You know, your mentality needs to be very focused and very present while you're working out. I've heard so many horror stories about people in the weight room hurting themselves because they're not focused, they're not present. Whether that be squatting a lot and they hurt themselves because their mind is on somewhere else. So it's just about being focused mentally and physically. And I think once you can join the two of them, that's when you start to see the most growth.
Thank you. So, Dr. Peak, you've touched on it before, posture. I'm not at the best posture right now because
I'm watching.
I know. I understand that you're a senior Olympic triathlete and sit on the board as well. Why should you or any other fitness-minded person care about their posture?
So I sit on the board of the Senior Olympics. The Senior Olympics is a large foundation meant to maintain higher levels of athleticism at world-class levels. From the age of 50 on up, feel free to look shocked. I am in the Senior Olympics. And as a triathlete, you know, one of the things I've learned over the years, based upon our work with the American College of Sports Medicine, is that here's something you really need to understand. The human body was meant for obsolescence by the age of 50. Yeah, we got an expiration date here that looked a little scary. And now, of course, we're pushing it all the way up toward 100. But there's something that happens to the musculoskeletal system. We actually start bending forward. You know, it's that whole stereotypic, you know, suddenly the floor is very interesting. We're just staring at it. And then we thought this was something that old people, you know, were having issues with, only to find out we now have devices. Hello, devices, as we see them all. And now, starting with the age of 16, 18, everyone's staring at these things. What are they doing with their necks? For every inch that you move forward like this, you're adding another 10 pounds of pressure on your neck. And you can just do the math, because the average inches that you actually move forward as you're staring at a device is 6. See, 60 pounds on your neck, and you wonder why you're in pain. And I haven't even begun to address what happens to the back. So as a physician and a scientist in this field, orthopedic surgeons and I and sports medicine experts, as well as physical therapists, have just been ripping our hair out, if we have any left, about what to do with this horrible issue of bending forward, of the posture thing. No, you know, posture's like stretching, right? It's like, you know you should do it, nobody does it. And now we found out that it's probably one of the most important things in your life to address. Because if you don't have strong posture with your abs and your back, then guess what happens? You not only bend forward, but you also start climbing down a rabbit hole of what? Pain, drugs. There's a reason why people who have back pain are on opioids right now. It's $1 billion issue, multiple $1 billion. There's a whole socioeconomic thing to this. Why did we care about it? Because the only way to really address it in the past were those awful looking straps that nobody wears, or drugs. There's got to be a different way. And this is why, as an athlete, one of the things I noticed was you do have really excellent posture on the overall. Athletes in general do, why we have a strong core. And it's hard for us really to kind of do this a lot. So one of the things I then began to realize, there had to be another way to deal with this. And one of the things I'll also be talking about is a beautiful technological device. It's one of the easiest things we've ever seen to be able to help with that. And it's called the Upright Go. It's a tiny little posture device that we in medicine now are beginning to embrace like you've never seen. Posture is a new black. It's where it's at. And we're now realizing in sports medicine, physical activity all the way across, that it's not just now in the domain of athletes, no matter what your age. We have to be able to start addressing this whole issue of strong core so that we can also decrease the one thing that will kill you after the age of 50, the number one most common thing that will do that, that's already costing us billions. And guess what it is? Falling. Just fall, and the rest of it is done. Because you'll end up in a hospital if you survive. And then after that, you know where that's going to go. We don't want that to happen. We want to be able to have a strong enough core and a strong enough body that goes along with that to be able to prevent that. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, when you put this whole conference together, I thought it was superb to be able to address, especially since you're an athlete, and many of the people in here are as well, to be able to say that why can't we spread this? Why can't we get that message out there to everybody to be nice and strong and to be able to live long and live well? A health span, not a lifespan. Health span meaning the number of years you're vibrant and you could run up those stairs and not fall. Lifespan doesn't mean anything without health span.
Brian, I think this is a perfect segue for you. If anybody, those that were at the cocktail hour yesterday, if anybody noticed, Brian was going around evaluating everybody's posture and standing pose. So I think this is so great for you to just come in and
Listen, look at the way I'm sitting. Anything wrong with it? Absolutely nothing. I dare you to try to sit up straight all day. It's not going to happen. I dare you. Not going to happen. Because if you use your back, when Doc said sit up straight, every single one of you did one thing. My mom's watching, I gotta do this. So everybody sit up and stick your chest out. It makes you popular, but it doesn't do anything for your posture. It has to come from one area. And you're sitting on it. If your pelvis and your hips are not doing their job, you have zero chance of sitting in the right posture ever. Unless you consciously say all day long, I better do this. This guy, cardiac expert, if he has to sit up like this all day long, he's not going to be a cardiac expert for long. Because that's all he's thinking about. And if he's looking at my heart, I want to focus on my heart. So we've got to start thinking cause versus effect. Dr. Peak and I work very well together. She just doesn't know it yet. Because I have the solution to this problem. And if you're looking at the upper back as the problem, you're highly mistaken. She's absolutely right about that piece of equipment. It's a game changer. I have customers all over the world using it because it's a biofeedback, pardon my ignorance on this, but it's a biofeedback device to tell you something is off. What do you do about it? You walk around like this, you're using external muscle to hold you up. She dropped the word core like 7 times. She's right. There's a railroad track of deep muscles throughout your system, and muscles move bones. If you don't get a muscle in here called the king, if that psoas muscle is not doing its job bilaterally, game over. It is the on switch for everything. And every one of us sitting here, by the end of today, I'm either going to piss you off or you're going to think, wow, that's amazing. I expect the second one. Because it's not a joke. If your psoas is off, the power switch for your entire core is off. No matter how hard you go to Y7, I did it yesterday. Amazing facility, by the way. Amazing facility. Did the yoga class. I was the guy yelling in the back, popping and all that stuff. But it was a game changer as it relates to watching people go through the same exercises and how much work it took to get there. But afterward, I had the privilege to talk to some people. How do your upper back and neck and everything feel? I feel so much better. Yeah, because yoga is a hip-based exercise program. If everybody would do yoga from the age of 5, I'd be out of business. So again, put me out of business.
Thank you. Dr. Harrington, I got the pleasure to speak with you yesterday on the cardiac test and how you really try to allow people to have a good window on understanding if they're going to get a heart attack or whatnot. Could you just explain to everybody what your test is about,
What are you trying to prevent? What are you trying to allow people to understand? Kind of about our conversation yesterday. I'll be great.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I'm actually delighted to hear all of these things because I come from a molecular biology background and hard science, and we were trained as physicians to focus on your weight, your blood pressure, your lipid levels in your blood. And it turns out that the majority of people who have heart attacks have normal lipids and probably have at most one risk factor. And the other thing that you should keep in mind is 90% of heart disease is due to lifestyle, 60% of cancer. And what that means is if all I'm doing is giving you a drug, I'm not really addressing the problem. So one of our challenges was we saw a lot of people that got a clean bill of health, and I'm sure you all know somebody like that, who dropped dead of a heart attack just suddenly. And so we started studying the problem, and the real cause of heart disease is inflammation. It's inflammation of the lining of your arteries, that's called the endothelium, and it's the biggest organ in your body. When I ask doctors what the biggest organ in the body is, they almost always say skin, and that's not a bad guess, it's about 2 meters squared. But the endothelium, those little cells lining your arteries, are 4,000 to 7,000 meters squared, weigh about 1 kilogram in your body, and they're designed to create a barrier to hold high pressure fluid, your blood, in your body. What happens is you are generating free radicals all day, and those free radicals are damaging the endothelium, and most of the time you can repair it, but when you can't, when that damage gets ahead of the repair process, you develop what are called unstable lesions in your arteries. And these are filled with lipid. They can rupture because they're inflamed. And it's interesting, we know from twin studies that lifestyle is critical, but there are some things that really have a profound impact on that. And you've heard some of them up here today, and what I want to focus on, the pulse cardiac test is measuring 9 proteins that come from your endothelium to your immune system. Basically, they're saying, come in and fix me. And that's all we're doing. And that's why this is the earliest warning system you can have in your body. That's why the blood test is able to identify you're at risk ahead of actually having an event. Now, because I focus on preventive cardiology, I don't want you in the hospital with a heart attack. That's a failure. But what I want to do is catch you at a time when you can intervene. And what's really interesting is those interventions are relatively simple. Things like yoga or proper posture. And one of the most interesting things is that 90% of the people that I see that say, I exercise, doc, I do everything right, you know what they're doing? They're mostly doing cardio, okay? Now what's wrong with cardio? It increases your VO2, your exercise capacity. Well, there's a huge difference between cardio and resistance training, which is like weight training or bands. The resistance training stimulates your muscles and your body to secrete a compound called irisin. And what irisin does is it tells your tissue to become more sensitive to insulin. It boosts your ability to store glycogen, which is where your excess energy is stored. And most importantly, it decreases inflammation. And so one of the most effective things we can do is just get people to do at least 50-50 resistance training with cardio. And we can measure your improvement with the pulse cardiac test. It goes up, it goes down, and it's really a 5-year look at yourself. And the reason that's important is because if I tell you your lipids are fine, okay, big deal. You know, people have become somewhat, you know, jaded to that. But if I can show you that you think you're perfect, and yet your body is telling us something different, and I can give you that information, it's very motivating to make the corrective changes to your lifestyle. And so everything that Tobias has been talking about that he went through is absolutely critical to preventing heart disease and keeping you out of the hospital and decreasing that inflammation. And that's all the pulse cardiac test really does.
Now, Joanna, what would you say makes Vibe Hire different from other wellness and coaching programs out there?
Well, okay, so we start every coaching session with two questions. What's new and what's good? So we're asking people to find something that's either new and exciting in their life or new and challenging and something that's good. And this trains the mind. We've talked a lot about, we've heard a lot already about, it's not just physicality, it's not just one factor in wellness. So this trains people in mindset. It's super simple. You could look to the person next to you right now, ask that person what's new and what's good, have a 2-minute conversation, and right there, you will feel better. You'll notice that your energy level, you feel elevated. So I think a focus on positivity is one thing that sets us apart. And then we also, as I just mentioned, we take a quite holistic approach to wellness. We don't believe that, just the way you exercise is the key, or just your sleep hygiene, or just the way you eat. We take what we call a 10-pronged approach that we call the 10 secret weapons of health. And we look at your wellness across the board. We look at your nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, your relationships, your career, your connection to self, the growth that you have in your life, what you're focused on, your time and money management, your service to your community or to yourself or to the people around you, and then your fun. So it's this wide lens that sets the belief system for all of what we do. Looking at things from that perspective really helps us to help millennials, help people who are going to be the leaders of our country and our world very soon, start to approach their wellness from a really multifaceted place.
If you can help me out, take a quick break, and then we come back in quickly, all right?
Good morning. Hi. Anybody taste my juice today? Yes, delicious. My name is Abdi Abajaban. I came from Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee, a small town called Jimma. When civil war broke out in my town, I left Ethiopia. My dad is a farmer, community healer. During my childhood, I have a lot of journey, Kenya, Djibouti, Somalia, Yemen. I travel a lot to escape poverty, politics. 2004, by luck, I arrived in New York City with existing diabetics. Harlem for me was a heaven. When I walked in the supermarket, beautiful fruit, tasty, different color, very cheap. So for me, it looked like heaven. So I jump on it. After that, my diabetes getting worse. I go to the doctor. We can't communicate because I don't speak English. I don't have that much money. So they increase my insulin always. Take more dose, take more dose. Finally, my kidney is very low. My liver enzyme is getting high. And then finally, what happened? I'm the best country in the world. The best treatment. I'll get sick. Then I study a little bit nutrition. When I have awareness, where I live in Harlem, food desert, there's nothing to eat healthy, tasty, affordable for community. After that, I realized I have to finish this gap. So I opened Oasis Jimma Juice Bar 2012, I become the top 3 juice bar. I go Fashion Week, the first person to open Fashion Week to introduce juicing, bring awareness. I have a community center where the people they can share healthy, tasty, yoga, meditation, everything. So Oasis Juma Juice, I have a 3 branch now, 1 in Canada, 2 in Harlem. I go everywhere like this to bring awareness. My next vision is how we can, there's a lot of people who want to have a business, healthy business, how we can support that. So we're gonna train them, we're gonna finance them, the mom and shop, but make sure the food we eat is healthy, making by healthy people. So thank you so much. Oasis Juma Juice Bar for everyone. We cater any occasion, fresh, live, organic juice. Please welcome, take care of your health. I'm around if you talk more. Thank you guys.
Okay, last 2 individuals are Jeremiah and Carolyn. Where are you? Jeremiah and Carolyn, come on up.
Hi, so I know a lot of you, I've been here for a couple of years, so many of you already know.
So what we do is we license out our NASDAQ technology to exchanges across the globe. So we power 115 global indices. We actually own 35 indices ourselves. And so if you were to peel back the curtains, say of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, that's NASDAQ technology, NASDAQ security, NASDAQ software that's powering those exchanges. So again, thank you for coming here. We're going to go downstairs right now into the Closing Bell studio. We're going to watch the Closing Bell live. Morningstar is ringing the bell, and we also have team members from Fiserv, who today is closing their acquisition of First Data Corp, who's now become combined a $60 billion market cap company. So pretty cool today to see that. So if you guys don't have any questions, we don't really have much time. We have about 2 minutes to get downstairs into the studio.
So let's give it a round, let's kick it off. Now, during your 15 years as a NASDAQ-listed business development company, you've stayed true to your mission of providing private, small, and medium-sized businesses in the U.S. and Canada with much-needed funding. And by carrying out this mission, Prospect Capital fulfills 2 essential components of our capital markets: providing innovative businesses with capital essential for their growth, while also delivering value and returns to their investors. In fact, since your IPO, Prospect Capital has declared cumulative distributions of $17.40 per share, which totals approximately $2.9 billion, which is just phenomenal. So Kristen, I know that this is definitely a team effort, and I want to congratulate you and everyone at the company on all your past success. NASDAQ truly looks forward to supporting Prospect Capital as you all continue to grow and continue to innovate as a NASDAQ-listed company. Now it is my pleasure. Please join me in welcoming Prospect Capital's Chief Financial Officer, Kristen Van Dass. Kristen.
Thank you, David. Very excited to be here. I would like to thank NASDAQ for supporting Prospect and having our entire team here today, or almost the entire team, for the closing bell ceremony today. I've been a proud member of the company for over a decade, and I am honored to be here to commemorate the 15-year anniversary of Prospect Capital Corporation's IPO. My colleagues at Prospect are dedicated and an outstanding group of professionals that work diligently on behalf of the company and our shareholders. Thank you, NASDAQ and